Hello viewers, we welcome you to yet another episode of Doordarshan Meghalay's Career Guidance program. Today we have a very special guest with us. She has more than 18 years of experience in the field of mass comm and journalism. She is the Associate Professor at St. Anthony's College, Shillong. She is also an adjunct faculty of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in Assam Don Bosco University in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, and she is also an executive member of MLCU Shillong for University Research Ethics Committee. We welcome Dr. Etawanda Saiborne to our show. We welcome you, Doctor. Thank you for sparing your valuable time for our show today.
Thank you, Shweta. It's indeed a privilege for me also, to be a part of this, your program, and I really feel happy and to get this opportunity to be here with you.
So, ma'am, let us begin with our program. Today we are going to be talking about the various prospects available in the Department of Mass Comm and Journalism. So, before we start with anything else, let us talk about you. Please tell us about yourself, your educational background, why did you choose this profession? What drove you to choose this profession? If you could tell our viewers more about yourself.
Well, it's a long journey for me. I mean, if looking back, there have been so many, incidents and, circumstances. And when I think back, I never had this, I didn't have this option in my mind of choosing mass communication. I wanted to be a veterinary, actually, veterinary doctor. That was I was so fun and of animals and fascinated. But somehow, all youths at that time, I played up. So instead of doing well in my academics, so I didn't get the required percentage which was required. So then after I was doing science for 10+2. Then after that, when I got my marks, it was not enough for me to get into the professional field. Then I thought that okay, maybe there must be some option. I was not interested to pursue science anymore. So I joined Lady Keene. I mean, I was already in Lady Keene for 11-12 science. Then I thought maybe since I used to be fascinated by these news anchor. Okay. So I thought probably maybe I might just try it out. After if I try English, then maybe I might go for journalism, because that time the scope of media was very, very small and nobody had an idea of what to do with that profession. So I joined English for 1 or 2 months. I was doing professional classes for BA. Then at that time, my sister, one day in Shillong Times, we saw an advertisement which says that St. Anthony's College is opening up, first time, Department of Mass Communication and Video Production. Then I was thinking, okay, maybe I would just give it a try. And I told my parents, and they say, what, you're going to a boys' college? And what is this? We have no idea about it. What are you going to do with it? But I said, just let me go and try. So I came, took the, the entrance exams, and finally got through it. And so that was then. And it was so different for us because we were the first batch of girls in this college. Okay. And it was very, very strange for us to enter into a boys' domain. And of course, we also got lots of, looks and stares, from the other side. And but somehow we realized, the field that we're doing is, because for us, we had no reference, we had no idea what a camera looks like. I didn't have an idea, what a film is. And we didn't have, of course we did have a television, but that was it, thinking about it. So it was I am really grateful, to the mentor and to the founder of this department, Father John, for really, giving us this initiative and giving us a wide scope, a new branch of, vision to see things, to do things differently. So that was my journey for 3 years in St. Anthony's College. I remembered, fiddling with the camera, didn't know what to do. My only idea was to zoom in, zoom out. That was all I know, when I touched the camera for the first time and we had to shoot in the college when we had a program. Then slowly from there, I was very interested in technical stuff. So somehow I picked it up and I started learning, going for shoots with friends. And, even for myself, I had a very small camera at home, point and shoot, used to click pictures, photographs whenever we go anywhere. it was, when I think about it, those were the beautiful moments. And after, graduation, I remembered we also had to make our own films. Back then, all of us, 18 of us, we were the first batch. I remembered we had to make a documentary, which is almost half an hour and almost 1 hour on our own without any guidance. But thanks to Father John, somehow he pushed us. He made us learn so many things from the scratch. We didn't have much, but then we, pick it up and did whatever we could.
So more of it comes from your own curiosity, you mean to say, the will to learn.
Yes, yes.
So coming to the skills that are needed to get into this field, like in your case, you said you were very curious you were fascinated
yes.
by the camera and the anchoring. So that, we can say, quite kind of drove you into this field. So how would you term like the skills that are needed for a person to become part of this realm or of this field?
See, if anyone has the interest, first thing you need the interest and a passion for anything that you do in life, whether you're cooking, whether you're an art student, whether you're an artist, you're a filmmaker, or maybe just at home sitting. You need to have the passion, because that's where ultimately everything stems up. If you really are determined, you're curious enough, to learn something new, to explore, there's no, lack of, opportunities for you. In fact, we'll excel in any field. That it doesn't matter whether you're doing mass comm or any work for that matter. So that was, I feel like even for our students, we always encourage them, because most of them, they come here, they thought that, okay, like doing media is being like a glamorous, profession. You have the camera, you carry the camera with you, or either you're in front of the camera most of the time, but then they forget, the thing that, that really drives people like us is, the passion, because as, it doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you have the passion and the interest and dedication, and of course this is like pure hard work. I will not say, we always tell our kids, this is 99% sweat, you sweat for 90, a lot. I mean, it's just 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That's the quotation I always give.
So when can one decide that, okay, suppose one has passed their 10th or 12th, and if they have decided that, okay, now I want to enter and become a journalist or an anchor or a video producer, photographer. So what will be the first step in terms of education? When can one start? Could you?
So immediately, I mean, what we right now in the schools also, most of the schools are integrating, media curriculum. So the students nowadays are getting a lot of exposure, and at the same time it's very relevant, because nowadays we don't know what the students are, what the youth are watching on internet, on social media, on television, because unattended, nobody is there, to look, so to guide them. So already the students, the kids, they are already aware of whether they are interested or not. And I could see even my daughter, she picks up the camera all the time, my camera, she shoots around, she says, I want to be a YouTuber, but I don't know whether that will work out or not. So the first step, it's like, after 12, so already if like you've been exposed to it. So then we have now career guidance centers as well, not only in our college. Schools as well, they do have, sometimes we go and, give some sort of a lecture as a, sort of a career awareness program. That also is being conducted, but of late we have not been doing that. Otherwise, with our student, we do take the initiative, to go about and, and to make sure that some sort of publicity is there. So these are the things. And again, if, students on their own, if they are interested, the best thing is to start young for any field, because that way you will learn, you will get a lot of experience, as you progress on in life, because, getting, technical, knowledge and skills, right from the time. And when you're small, when you're young, you learn more. I believe in that. As you grow older, the brain also, starts, slowing down. And of course, if we don't push it, if we don't use a potential, that is something that's bound to happen. Something like that.
Ma'am, there is a BA in mass communication and there is a BSc in mass communication. plus similarly there is an MA and MSc
Yes.
also. So often students are confused. What is the difference between these two? So could you throw more light?
Elaborate on it. See, this most of the time actually it's almost the same thing when we talk about BA in mass comm and journalism and BSc in journalism and mass communication. Some universities and some college, sometimes they rather take this option and segregate themselves. Like for example, in Shillong, in Meghalaya, that option like NEHU does not give us the option like this can be incorporated. Actually, when we look at media subject, it's more of technical stuff, and at the same time, it's scientific. So we talk about media being part art and part science. We talk about it. So depends on different universities and what do they want to compartmentalize. Okay. That's the word. So they want to compartmentalize, okay, because so that's how it is. And at the same time, when we look at BSc in mass communication and journalism, they're more on hands-on teaching approach. So they deal specifically more on on the the practical aspect of the technical things, whatever that is required for media studies, for example for television production or film production or for sound. But sometimes when we look at BA, normal BA, usually it's half theory, 50% theory and 50% practicals. So in that way, you sort of give a very broad knowledge about, the subject. At the same time also you give them, the students hands-on approach, to work with, with the different gadgets and equipments. So that's...
So, while opting for a postgraduate degree in journalism and mass communication, is it okay, suppose a person has not done their bachelor's, can they still do a master's in mass comm and journalism without a bachelor in mass comm and journalism?
Yes, you can certainly do that. I have most of my friends, I remembered when I was doing my master's in Pune, I had joined, and surprisingly, the master's program that I was doing also, it falls under MSc. Okay. So you can see how it changes if I go to, like for example, in Pune, we also have Pune University, but it's known as MA in Mass Communication and Journalism. So coming back to, my postgraduate, so I did an MSc in Communication Media for Children. And we had we had our friends, who were from science background, who were from commerce background, who were from arts background. So it was, a mixture. So with media, because all we need is like creativity, and if you have, skills, good communication skills and writing skills, there's, you can actually get easily into, the field. And because there's no limitation when it comes to this particular profession. Anybody, anytime, if you have the interest, you can. And there's some people actually, even after they finish the PG, in education or something, they can pursue, a doctorate in mass communication, provided that there's some area of the subject is related, it's linked to what they have learned before. So that also is possible.
So that means it depends on the interest and the willingness. I want to start it now, so they can do that.
It's an interdisciplinary, this is a very interdisciplinary subject. And people, sometimes we are surprised because somebody, just go up for a postgraduate in filmmaking. And because if they are artistic enough, they have the skills, easily you can actually, there's nobody will limit you, nobody will tell you that you can't. That this is the beauty of this profession, actually, I feel.
So, for instance, now a person doesn't have a bachelor or master's in mass communication and journalism, but of course, because the person is artistic enough, they want to become a photographer or a video editor or a filmmaker. So, what kind of courses do you suggest that they can take up, and where can they take up such courses? Could you throw more light?
For that, there are lots of diploma courses which are being offered, especially, but now we're looking mostly online, courses. And you do have to pay a lot, if you're looking at foreign universities, you have to pay in terms of like $5,000, for 6 months course. But if you're looking at India, in our scenario, there are like short, like sometimes like we have these like Arena Multimedia. I remembered, initially there were some kids of ours they did go there apart from what we taught them here, because they wanted to learn more about, computer skills and also learning about designing and animation. So they did actually go there for a diploma. Even our college as well, we regularly offer, diploma courses like for editing, for photography, for animation, for design. These are the things. And other places, I mean, if you look, Bangalore also is there. You just go to Guwahati also, you'll find a lot. And if you look at, the northeast scenario, Guwahati is like, Kolkata as well. Then you go down south, you have, Chennai is the hub when we talk about, especially for animation, for designing. Then if you want for filmmaking, you go to Mumbai for light and sound, school. And then we have, there are lots of degrees all over India, and there are some very well-known colleges, and universities. There are some which are, very not so well-known, but it doesn't matter where you go, because in the end, if you're sincere, you're motivated enough, you will learn. It doesn't matter wherever you, like, if you in the most expensive and the most, sought after university, or maybe you're just in a very unassuming, one. It doesn't matter for me. I believe in that. I've reached that point where you can actually do it.
True. Now, like you've just mentioned that even your college, St. Anthony's College, provides courses in
Yes.
photography and editing. So is there an age barrier? Suppose if somebody wants to enroll in one of the courses, is there an age barrier? What is the criteria for enrolling in such programs?
For these short-term courses, we don't have any criteria. Anyone,
So
no age barrier. Even if you're 60, you're 55, you can still come, and learn. But then, unfortunately, according to the UGC norms, if you want to pursue a normal, degree, then there's an age limitation for that.
So, like we know now that it is not necessary or important to have a degree in mass communication and journalism, but of course it adds to the
Yes.
value, of course. So now, as we go on, as we move on, we see that the realm of mass comm and journalism is very huge, from becoming an RJ to a filmmaker to a journalist. So, talking about career-wise, what would be the right steps to take? Suppose a person wants to be an RJ, or I want to be a journalist, or if somebody wants to be a filmmaker. What would be the first step? How to approach that?
Okay, let me clarify that part when you said that. So it's not necessary, to have a degree. It is actually, because I've reached the stage where I can say that, sometimes, because if you have passion, but then I will not give that, that kind of advice, to young kids, to someone who's just like aspiring, who's really very interested. I would suggest that they go and do specialization, because there's nothing like it, because you have a whole knowledge of, theoretical knowledge, and it's basically very sound knowledge if you have, a degree in it, rather than, just hands-on practicals also. It's fine, you learn on the, on the field, you learn on the job, you learn on that. But then if you want to go further from that, maybe you want to go into the academics, if you're interested in teaching, or maybe you want to be, a content analyst, or maybe some sort of like something to do with, a position, a job which requires very in-depth, intense, research work. I will not say that, okay, anyone can do that. Somebody, who really have, a background and an idea about this. Then coming to the next one, so if somebody is aspiring, to be an RJ or first of all, I think you need to at least have communication skills. That is something which basic. And if you're not shy of people, that is another thing, because if I'm like, I do have my limitations, when it comes to, like, if I teach in the classroom, it's no problem for me. But then, like sitting here in a formal interview, I also feel a little bit, a little bit anxious. So anyone, like someone who's like, who's not camera shy, who's like friendly, and of course you need to have the screen presence that comes with practice. And nowadays, at home, many kids are just doing and doing lots of videos and uploading, and they already they have something which means that it's a passion. And some of them might not be really good, but then they use all the editing techniques which is required. So if either you can associate yourself, with that media house, if you're really very interested, go for internships, before, because that's the only time, then you will know what you're good at, and also you'll find so many things that will interest you, because even after, finishing your graduation, sometimes we're clueless. And I remember even myself, I was clueless as to what do I do now. The moment I finish graduation, then the next thing, okay, maybe do post-graduation. Then after that, sometimes when we're not really focused, and then suddenly when you find your field. So that way internships help a lot. Or, or maybe associating yourself, with, or watching, following up, on, people who are really into, filmmaking, or people who are doing media stuff. That is something. And for an RJ, I mean, if you have links as well, if you have contacts, sometimes people, without any background, without any knowledge, because they have the right contact, they step up in front of the camera, and, they just, become, and sometimes by fluke, but most of the time it does not happen by fluke. It's always that person already was determined, to be where he or she wants to be. That drive is there. So and at the same time, they pick up. Suppose like for an RJ, you need to be interested in music. It's not that you cannot just talk about sound. You cannot talk about music if you don't have if you're not passionate enough for music. How would you go from one genre to another genre and talk about it without actually feeling the beat and the rhythm of it? That thing. So that's what I think. Even going for DJ. Like for a photographer, you're interested, you start with your mobile phones and then you start clicking, and there are lots of tutorials right now on YouTube where you learn so much. And sometimes at this time right now, even for our students, we give lectures to them, but at the same time I supplement them, I give them these teaching modules from YouTube, which because sometimes it's not enough. I cannot show it to them. I cannot practically show now. It's impossible for me during this time right now, to actually tell them come and show. So the only thing is that make video tutorials and show it to them, so they learn a lot. So that's how And right now we have reached an age where education is no longer confined to a classroom setting. Education right now is like we learn so much from others rather than from your own self or from your textbook.
You brought a very important point, ma'am. You said that education is much more than learning just from the textbook. And in this field, of course, because I've also been in this field, I feel that field work, I think it's very, very important. Yes. But sometimes education and profession, there's a gap that cannot be bridged. So how to bridge that gap, that disconnect sometimes that there is between the theory of education and the practice of profession? So how to bridge that gap? What is your view on this?
We've had experiences where we have friends or colleagues who are totally even in our department, who's totally from a different field or profession altogether, and once they come into this, I realize media subject is such that everyone can learn. There's no such thing. I mean, one of my friends, she's from English department, she teaches with us, but slowly she's learning, to host, programs, and she learns to write script, without us, she's been noticing us, and and so what she's done is that she's implemented what she in our department, giving them writing, before she used to give essays, to write for the students who she's taking English here. Then suddenly she realized that it's slightly different. So she actually realized she's enjoying it more because it allows us so much of creativity. And there's, and I always tell the students as well, this is such a field that you will never get anywhere else, because you actually are seeing your imaginations, your dream coming alive on paper than on film, and on picture. You will not get it anywhere else. And you start it right from the scratch, from your imagination, you put it down. So I feel, that bridge sometimes, practicals, it does help, if you already have but all the subjects I feel are linked with media, because media is a field which is so diverse, it's so interdisciplinary. When we talk about research, you're looking at audience profile. If you're looking from the sociological perspective, you have to study people. We do a lot of study. We study culture, we study people, we study oral traditions, we study history. Media is not just basically technology, but more from that, the earliest when we talk about communication, it stems out, from the need, to actually connect. So every subject, I feel every subject also, there's a need for us to connect, to connect to our audience, to connect to our students, to connect to our viewers, so that is the thing. So sometimes, if like you have not really had a theoretical knowledge or a background in education in this field, you can always pick it up because there are always things for you to look up, to read. You can always improve. At the same time, basically if you learn about theory, practical is completely different again. Once you go to the field, whatever you think that will work, it will not work. So we have to relearn and unlearn ourselves what we learn.
Okay. So it's a learning process both in both fields, and how you connect.
You have to connect and you have to combine. If you relearn, you have to unlearn. And I always tell students, when you're doing a camera composition, learn first the rules of shot sizes, learn first the rule of perspective, then you break the rule. But do not go, do not just go ahead and break something after, because like all artists, that's what artists do. They learn first the basic, when we talk from scratch about art, they learn first the smallest dot or a point or a line, the pattern of lines, the colors, the shape, and finally they come up with their own genre, their own style.
Basic,
Yes.
If your foundation is strong,
yeah, you need to.
You can again. And you mentioned a very important point about learning and unlearning. That means what you learn might not always be true to stand true when you're on field. I think that is very important, learning and unlearning. Often, when we learn, we refuse to unlearn a lot of things. I think that kind of flexibility,
it's required.
It's very important.
Another, just to again, add to that. When we were students, we learned the old technology, the analog technology. Then when I started teaching, everything became digitized. And right now, all these analog cameras, whatever that we've learned, it's become history now for the students. I teach it as a part of history. It's not anymore. Everything now for them, they have no idea what is analog technology. So that is something which, for me as well, as I keep, years and years or over the months, we have to, catch up. And even nowadays, I've been attending lots of these TED Talks, online webinars. The scenario is changing so much rapidly, and I feel the future is more of like health sciences. The future is about AI, artificial intelligence. The future is about the people who actually are going, to really, they're more, focused. And if you don't get on with this game, I feel that we're going to get lost, or we will disappear. That is the thing. We'll become obsolete like a technology.
True. A very, very important point, ma'am. Learning and unlearning, and the necessity to keep ourselves up to date with technology. Well, it's already time for us to wind up, as much as we would like to keep on continuing, because this field is very vast. But for now, viewers, we will have to wind up this episode. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Ma'am Ita, for sparing your valuable time, and keep watching Doordarshan Mikhail.